The Sports 2000 Sports Racing Car Club is brought to you in association with Locks for Vans. A very warm welcome to Silverstone and our programme featuring four full races of the second event of the 2022 Sports 2000 Historic and Duratec Championships. Down in the paddock to get things going is Scott Woodwiss.
Well, someone who knows a lot about, of course, Sports 2000 and its history is John Webb, who's with me now. John, great to have you here at Silverstone, of course, and must be another great day at the office, being amongst cars that you're very familiar with.
Oh yeah, I mean, 77 we started, so that is a few years ago now. So yeah, we thought we'd all come up and meet the new owners, the new cars. But I was pleased to see quite a few Tigers still racing.
How impressed are you by these brand new cars, particularly the Duratecs that are out there?
Would I love to have a go on one? Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, just amazing. That's what the Formula always needed, really, was a more powerful engine. But the Pinto was good, we enjoyed it, very reliable, but a little slow. But these must be amazing. Yeah, I give my back teeth to get in one of those. Yeah.
There's a really good entry of Pinto this weekend as well. Good to see a few more cars coming back to the championships. So it must be delightful for you to see more of those historic cars out there too.
Yeah, no, I mean, we the front runners, if you like, of 77 were invited to join in and see what goes on now. And yeah, I mean, it's super to see so many Pinto engines, and of course in the States even more. You know, it's a fantastic formula to be in.
In terms of the future going forward, Sports 2000, do you see just more people coming into Duratex, more people picking up Pinto cars? How do you see the next few seasons playing out, do you think? Yeah,
I think Pintos will in the end phase out because obviously there aren't many of those chassis around. But the new one, I mean, yeah, it's got to go and go and go. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, of course, and to see up close and personal how Sports 2000 is right now. But great to have you with us, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Our first race is for the Duratec, the more current or modern cars. We will see two races from the historics, so looking forward to that, but we've got an action-packed programme. A pole position going to Joshua Law in his MCR from the similar MCR of Michael Gibbons. We've got some onboard cameras to give us coverage through the programme as well. This is the view from Colin Peach. Colin lining up in Class B, that's his Van Diemen. And he's fifth in class, 17th on the grid. Now remember, pole position here on the national circuit at Silverstone is the outside, so the green and black MCR of Joshua Law is the pole position car. In car with James Barwell too, James fourth on the grid, so an inside run for him. Alongside him will be Tom Stoughton, Tom the defending champion. So we look to the gantry as we get ready for the first race of our second weekend of action for the 2022 Sports 2000 Championship. Away we go. Looks like a pretty equal start from the front two runners there, side by side. Lauren Gibbons, Stoughton third. Barwell, David Horton is in fifth place as they go into Copse Corner for the first time. And expect a big sort out in the opening laps. In car with Dominic Leslivsky in his MCR. Class A mainly MCRs. We've got Tom Stoughton in the gun. Just looking at the cloud coverage here today, as indeed most of the drivers will have been doing during the course of the morning. Time currently, we're actually in the later stages of the afternoon, so a lot of us have had afternoon tea and now come out to have a look at some great racing here at Silverstone. It is a big sort out on the opening lap. Qualifying was at lunchtime, by the way, just around about noon. And temperatures have chilled a little bit since qualifying this morning. There's James Barwell in the 77 car. James dicing with Tim Tudor, joint third in the championship after round one, which was at Donington Park. We'll talk more about that as we go on. And James Barwell trying to put Tim Tudor under some pressure here. Here's the view from Colin Peach in 117. The Van Diemen closing up on Peter Williams. Peter, one of the Derek Bell class runners. Talk more about classes as our programme unfolds. Into Beckett's, which seems to go on forever sometimes, and then down the Wellington Straight, which doesn't take very long in these wonderful cars. Superb array of machinery being displayed this weekend, as ever in Sports 2000 racing, and as has been done over many, many years, as you'll hear in our interviews over the course of this programme. And the other thing you'll note is the speeds that these cars, when we go on board, and for me particularly, the speeds when you're watching on board as we go around Beckett's, how fast these cars are compared to anything else that you'll see in national racing. And for the money that these guys spend, it really is a terrific return. Nick Bates in the number 4 MCR, 2 8th positions for Nick at Donington Park in the opening event of the year. And James Barwell trying to close up. You can see the light wanting to disappear, the sun wanting to disappear a little bit more behind heavier cloud coverage. I don't think it's looking like rain at the moment. It should be a dry circuit as Tim Tudor again looks to just try and see if he can work his way on the inside down into Brooklands. Wasn't quite working for him, and Dominic Leslewski in front of him holds on to that position, but Dominic under a little bit of pressure now. I think Tim Tudor's coming under pressure as well once again from James Barwell in the 77. James qualifying 4th on the grid, so he's dropped away a little bit from his starting position, but this 25-minute race means that he'll have time to get the car, get himself into a bit of a race rhythm and possibly get back. Leslewski there just heading that group. That's Michael Gibbons, champion in 2020 and indeed 2019, multi-champion in the Formula, and a problem for James Barwell. So James has had a moment, and all that work being put into 4th position on the grid coming undone. Let's have a look and see what happened. We're on board with James, just turning in by the look of it, coming out of Maggots, turning into Beckett's, and the car spins round. I think he's made a relatively quick recovery. 50 car of Steve Uff, and he's chased by John Owen. So it's a Class A car being chased by a Class B. Class A are the current spec modern cars, if you will, and the Class B's for pre-2007 or chassis converted from Pinto, and then the third class is the DB class, which is short for Derek Bell. Derek, of course, probably needs no introduction to fans of sports car racing, and he's president of the club, and the Derek Bell class is for over 60s, and we've got 2 over 60s in this race. And well, we'll come back to that, cover that off a little bit later on, because things are settling down nicely with Joshua Law out front at the moment. Through shot goes Grant Gibson in his white Van Diemen RF 94, and here's James Barwell, who's got some overtaking to do in order to catch up and try and get himself back on par with where he qualified. And as I say, that was row 2, so significant amount of work for him to do. Nick Bates goes through, followed by Peter Brewer. Nick Bates Class A, Peter Brewer in Class B in the Lola. And again, you'll hear all these iconic names from British Motorsport in this championship. John Owen in the Class B MCR. MCR being represented in both Class A and Class B. And the most prolific manufacturer in the racing now, as Tom Stoughton comes under pressure. Stoughton under pressure from Richard Johnson. Johnson second in the championship. He's only a point behind Joshua Law, who's out front in this race at the moment. And that's why the chaser in the 21 car wants to go through. So it's unsurprisingly the MCR chasing the gun at the moment. The gun just looks so slick, doesn't it? It's adds a little bit of variety to Class A. Richard Johnson putting him under a wee bit of pressure at the moment. Johnson was first and second at Donington Park. Same for Josh Law. And Peter Williams, one of our Derek Bell runners, very sadly, looks like he is coming into retirement. So early doors, early retirement for him, and that should, I think, possibly see the Derek Bell class win, assuming he finishes, to Mike Turner. So disappointment then for our first retiree by the look of it, Peter Williams. Joshua Needham busy chasing Andrew Butler. Now, did Butler do that on his own? Was he forced into a mistake? Hopefully the MCR will fire up. Not the best of seasonal starts for Andrew Butler. Had 2 non-finishes at Donington. He's got going again though, so that's the positive side. Of course, it's always about how you respond to any adversity. And talking of adversity, a little bit of could have been there for James Barwell. Went very wide, kicked up some dirt on the outside, and he's really on a mission. This is determination from the driver of the 77 car to try and get back in the mix, and he's hunting down the Class B of Peter Brewer, the Lola Fox 8890 car immediately in front. Nick Bates in the Class A. So Peter Brewer doing a great job here. He's actually the Class B Championship leader. He knows that he's got one of the front runners from the outright category coming through, and through indeed goes James Barwell on his recovery. So going back to Class B, Peter Brewer, the championship leader, 6-point lead over John Owen in the MCR in Class B coming into this round. So it's only the second event of the 2022 season, and round 1 at Donington, round 2 here at Silverstone, the very best racing venues for these cars, and they really do get the opportunity to metaphorically stretch their legs and enjoy some proper tarmac. Ashley Law is the chaser at the back of this group. Steve Uff immediately in front in his MCR, and Mike Turner, the remaining Derek Bell Trophy runner, is at the head of this group. So Mike's having a decent run of things at the moment, getting a good look at all the drivers in various classes. And in-car once again with Colin Peach. This is another Van Diemen, an RFS 02, makes a very neat pass there. A peach of a pass, you might say. I'm sure he's heard that one before. And Mike putting the pass on Ashley Law. So those guys just outside the top 10 of the race at the moment, and of course battling within classes as well, happening pretty much through the field. If you've got one of the older chassis, you might maybe find yourself up against some newcomers, but perhaps in the main Class A. Ashley Law going back past, returning the favour. Lovely move there by Ashley Law to reclaim that position up ahead of Colin Peach. Colin, we already know, has made it past once. See if he's going to close up now as they come down the main straight, chase into Copse Corner. The other thing I'll note from what I'm seeing here, and I might be speaking too soon, is that you watch any other class of racing and they are all over the curbs and wide into Copse Corner, but I haven't seen that, or very, very little of it. There was a couple of track limits infringements in qualifying, but race-wise I haven't seen any yet. So terrific driving standards from everybody in this race thus far. Colin Peach giving us a great race, and of course he's coming under pressure now from Josh Needham in his Van Diemen. So the Class B car is closing up. It's got the novice cross on the back of the car. Mike Turner back there again. Steve up ahead of him. That's the line. They go to tick off another lap. This race should equate to, I was just thinking, pole position time was 56.7 seconds for Josh Law. So 25-minute race. We're looking at 26, 27 laps, 25, 26, 27 laps, depending on what happens over the course of it. Josh Needham still putting in a good stint here in coming onto the Wellington straight. Dominic Leslewski is waving them through. I think Dominic's got a problem. Could be another retirement. You can see his hand was out, and it was great driving from him to warn of the problem. There's possibly a little bit of spray or fluid coming out of that car. We're not focused on it right now. We did have the onboard, but Dominic qualified well. He was 7th on the grid, just ahead of the Class B leader Grant Gibson, and sadly it's not to be his race. Lesniewski with a 6th position at Donington Park, and it's going to be a retirement for him here in the opener at Silverstone. Disappointing for us, disappointing for him as well, as Colin Peach is passed again. Joshua Needham goes past. These two having a great game of cat and mouse. Here's the view from pit lane, which is not what we wanted to see. And in the pits, as well as Dominic, we've got David Horton, 5th in the championship, David Horton. And indeed, I think was 5th on the opening corner as they went through, if memory serves, as well, on the first lap of the race. So there are some championship points very much up for grabs for those that are going to finish this race. We do have another race in day 2 of the meeting. Joshua Law in the 91 MCR, race leader, and doing a grand job out front at the moment. Has got the fastest lap of the race as well. Here is the number 50, Steve Uff, still running well. A little bit of contact between a couple of cars there and some jostling. I think there was contact, maybe a light touch. Certainly one of the cars getting very squirrely as it comes out of Beckett's and heads down the Wellington straight once again. Joshua Needham coming under pressure again, so we'll follow Joshua once again, and Colin Peach coming through Luffield and into Woodcote. Colin, the 3rd of the cars that we were looking at. Here's Tim Tudor, and Tim running in 5th place at the moment, so Tim joint 3rd in the championship with Tom Stoughton, who's a couple of cars ahead of him. So Tom is going to, if things stay the way they are, consolidate proper 3rd position rather than tied 3rd position, if you get my drift. David Horton was 5th, dropping away. Michael Gibbons might be able to pinch that position off of him in the championship in this race. As Peach again goes to the inside, and Joshua Needham, if he can stay side by side with Peach, will have the inside into Brooklands. Let's see how this plays out. They're coming down the straight past the BRDC club building. He's keeping wide, and he knows that was great, respectful driving from Colin Peach. They knew that Joshua Needham was there and had the line. That's what this sort of racing is all about, great respectful racing. These two still trying to close in on Mike Turner, so we'll see whether they do. The lone Derek Bell Trophy runner at the moment. Now let's just have a quick look and talk to you about class positions. Joshua Law leading the race outright from Michael Gibbons, and then Class B headed by Grant Gibson and Peter Brewer having a good battle, with John Owen in 3rd place. Colin Peach, that we're on board with, is 4th, and the lone Derek Beltran. And look at this, round the outside to tee up the inside run here. This is real smart stuff from Colin Peach. And he'll hold on to the inside, so the positions have swapped over, and track position swaps over as well. Ashley Law up ahead of the 91 car of Joshua Law, the race leader. And Josh Law, the A-grade ARDS instructor, a bit of a musician as well by all accounts, and plays the drums. There's a lot of music seems to go hand in hand with motor racing. Here's Tom Stoughton at the moment in 3rd place. Michael Gibbons is in 2nd. So the gun, it's MCR gun. Richard Johnson in his MCR is 4th. Tim Tudor MCR as well is in 5th place. And Joshua Law, this will extend his championship lead. This is very much, of course, the aim for him, and having to deal with a little bit of traffic. Passes Mike Turner very neatly on the inside. Again, great driving from Turner, who comes across, realises nobody else following at this moment, so can grab the racing line into Brooklands as we watch the race leader Joshua Law working his way through the traffic. I'm wondering how far through the field he will get before the end of the race. These cars make a terrific sound. Passes Colin Peach now. Colin running in 11th position right now, so we could maybe expect to get a few more cars past over the course of it. So through goes the 91. Now we've got Mike Turner engaged in battle with Joshua Needham. Let's see what Joshua can do. I think Mike at the moment is a little bit away. Back with our defending champion. And Tom Stoughton in the gun. TS11 is looking to build on 5th place and a 3rd at Donington Park this weekend. At the moment, I think he's going to be in position to grab another podium position as we see Michael Gibbons currently running in 2nd place in the blue car. So there is Michael working his way through the traffic as well. Handout from the car being passed. That's really terrific driving from Ashley Law. And Michael Gibbons goes past in the 76 car. A little bit further down the order of the championship, Michael Gibbons, for the former champion, which you might think surprising. But if you look at the results, had a non-finish one of the races at Donington Park. There is Grant Gibson, our Class B leader in his Van Diemen RF94. Having a quick check to see if we've got Reynards. I was going to bore you with the technical stuff about the naming convention of Reynards and Van Diemen's, but I don't need to because we haven't got any Reynards in this particular event. But that car running well, as is Joshua Law, still out front, the race leader, fastest lap as well. Colin Peach fastest in Class B, although not the class leader. So maybe different things to be expected in race 2, very possibly, as Joshua Law continues on his way. It was pole position, so huge amount of work being done in qualifying and then making the most of that start as well, although it was side by side momentarily around turn 1. Mike Turner with Ashley Law on the outside run here. See whether he can make up the place. Michael Gibbons in the 76 car. Still in 2nd position. And then the number 50, that's Steve Uff in his MCR, is a lap down. Steve running 8th in Class A at the moment. Just trying to look and see how far back Tom Stoughton is. That's the 117 car of Colin Peach that we've had the lovely onboard shots from. So through goes Gibbons once again on his way to 2nd position. MCR 1 and 2, as we've said, Gunn in 3rd place. So it won't be a shutout off the podium at the moment for the MCR chassis, as the 91 car of Joshua Law again into the Brooklands Luffield complex. Here's Luffield, the first part of the continuing right-hander, which brings them around Woodcote and then back across the line to complete another lap. The finishing line a little bit further back than the start line here at Silverstone, and crosses the line again and doing a great job here at the moment. Now the gap between Gibbons and Starr on a spin for the number 4 of Nick Bates, and that was again still not seeing track limits issues here. Now is Bates going into retirement, or is he going to be okay? Bates running pretty well in Class A up to that point, but I think he's rejoined and he's okay. So back with the race leader Joshua Law, still clear from Michael Gibbons. I was about to talk about the gap back to 3rd place. Tom Stoughton is a pretty big gap at the moment. Mike Turner still on for a Derek Bell class win, really racing against himself at the moment. So there is Mike in the number 7 MCR. Remember, we lost Peter Williams, his class opposition, as it were, very early on in the race. It was lap 6, and we're now on to lap 26, which is going to be our final lap of the race. Joshua Law has gone through. There is Michael Gibbons in second place. Tom Stoughton still running in third, and I think it's going to be the top 7 or 8 that will have been had a lap put on them by the leader Josh Law, who consolidate the championship lead here. Goes out of Beckett's for the last time along the Wellington Straight. He's got the number 6 car behind him, which is Peter Brewer, second in Class B. I don't think we're going to see any more cars lapped, so it's going to be everybody up to and including 8th position Peter Brewer. And we do expect those Class B cars to have succumbed perhaps to a lap on this relatively short circuit here at Silverstone. But Josh Law is going to take the win. There it is, Joshua Law takes the win, second win in succession in the championship this year, second win of the season as well. Car number 21 coming down towards us as well is Richard Johnson. That's the 4th place car. Michael Gibbons is in second. Tom Stoughton in third. Richard Johnson in 4th position, second in the championship. Will probably consolidate that. He was only a point behind Joshua Law coming into the race. And it is Law who takes the win, and indeed the fastest lap. So he will keep the championship lead and look to defend that further in tomorrow's race here on the national circuit at Silverstone. Josh just waving to the race fans here this weekend, and also the marshals, acknowledging their wonderful efforts as ever. We'll get a chance to catch up with him, with Scott Woodwis in Parc Ferme. Here come the cars down into pit lane and ready to have a well-earned breather after 25 minutes of racing action. But before we get down and chat to them, obviously we need to confirm the official result for you here of the 3rd race of the 2022 season. You can see the marshals again applauding. It was a fine race actually, and good effort from everyone. Here's the result though. Joshua Law from Michael Gibbons and Tom Stoughton 3rd, Richard Johnson in 4th, then Tim Tudor and James Barwell. Class B run by Grant Gibson from Peter Brewer, and then Nick Bates, John Owen completing the podium in Class B and rounding out our top 10. 11th goes to Colin Peach from Steve Uff, then Joshua Needham and Ashley Law. Derek Bell class win going to Mike Turner from Andrew Butler. Fastest lap, race winner Joshua Law. Here's Scott.
Josh, congratulations. Pole positioning to win for race 1 in the Duratec, and looked like a pretty decent race out there today.
Yeah, it was great. Couldn't really have gone much better. Thank you. Good to get pole position, and then managed to get a good start, stay in the lead, build a little gap, and then just sort of control it from there really. And so it was a great race, nice and controlled, which is what I wanted ideally. So yeah, mega. Couldn't have gone better.
You managed to have the measure of both Michael and Tom. So was that give you? Didn't take all the pressure off. We take some pressure off out in front. It does. There's always pressure, but it definitely is nice to have had sort of a dominant performance with Michael and Tom, both not sort of having any major issues or anything, because it gives me a bit of confidence because those guys are really quick. So yeah. So of course now you've got to try and do it again tomorrow for race 2. So how do you fare your chances against Mike and Tom? Do you expect them to find a bit more overnight?
I'm sure that they're going to do everything they can to find a bit more, and and so tomorrow I expect they'll be giving me as hard, just as hard a time as ever. So I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully we can just do the same as today.
Well, second place, Michael, and the fact you had to rehydrate afterwards suggests it was quite a tough but decent race out there.
Yeah, it's nice to get to the end in one piece, and it was good fun. I was working hard. I was trying to keep up, and he just had the extra tenth or two on me. I'm pleased we got to the end and the car seems to be in one piece. That's the most important thing. We had a couple of bad ones at Donington, so it's nice to get to the end. Car feels good, so hopefully give him a bit more of a rough time tomorrow.
Did you find you were chasing Josh more or holding off Tom? Was it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think the gap to Tom was opening fairly consistently, so I kept an eye on it to start with, and it seemed to be getting bigger. So that wasn't the immediate threat, and I knew I had a bit of a buffer there, and it was just, I could see Josh was creeping away, so I was just like, if I keep consistent, if he makes a mistake, then hopefully or gets caught by a back marker, hopefully we'll be right on him. I didn't get lucky enough on this time, but next time hopefully.
So obviously you want to go for the win, but what's your game plan now going into tomorrow to try and put yourself one place higher?
If I actually get past him off the line this next time, I nearly got there, that would help a lot. I think we try and find a little bit of straight line speed would be really helpful, because he's got a little bit on us. So we'll have a think and hopefully come out quicker tomorrow.
A bit of tweaking overnight.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, Tom, strong third place. Good way to keep up your title defence. It looked like it was pretty hard work out there.
Yeah, it was hard work, especially at the beginning when Richard was behind me. He was getting bit too close at times. So yeah, I was having to try and keep him behind. But we had an accident yesterday in testing, so lost basically the whole day. But the guys did an incredible job yesterday patching it up, especially because we don't have any moulds at the moment. So yeah, they did an incredible job patching it up. But it meant that I was kind of learning the car a bit in the race, to be perfectly honest, because we made so many changes. So I felt like the middle of the race was probably the quickest. But yeah, it was all right.
Sounds like you've got some work to do overnight to tweak the car. Do you know what areas you need to kind of make changes to go a bit quicker tomorrow?
We'll make some changes. Whether it'll work or not, we don't really know. So we're learning the car. We're doing a huge amount of development on it at the moment, and we're just trying to get it into the zone really. So yeah, we'll make some changes, see what happens, and another race tomorrow.
We've got a new sponsor in Locks for you on the car as well. How are you enjoying their support?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's so good that they're sponsoring the championship. It's yeah, it's very much appreciated.
The car looks superb and you look good out there as well driving, so fingers crossed you find the changes and we'll see you tomorrow. Here's someone I think doesn't need any introduction too much for Sports 2000, John Brindley, of course a former front runner back in the day. How pleasing it is to be back amongst this paddock again?
Well, it's nice to be here, nice to see a few friends, isn't it? It's a long, long time ago, I don't know, 35 years ago? Whatever. Listen, I've been fortunate, I enjoyed my racing, I still drive a fast car, I still get picked up for speeding. They've caught me twice, I've got 6 months. So they said if I lose my licence now at 89, I won't get it back.
In terms of the memory set for the championship, how successful were you back in the days for those who don't know some of your achievements?
Well, I can't really remember. If I didn't win the championship, I was either second or third. I had a good run. I was fortunate, and they were a good, clean bunch of blokes. We were good together, and we didn't crash very much.
It's great to see some of the older cars still out in circulation, still in good condition, and racing today in the Pinto class.
No, well, those 492 Lolas still look really good to me, and I think they'll keep up with anything new, really, with equal drivers in them. But motor racing is motor racing, and motor racing was part of my history, and that's probably why I had 2 divorces. So what else do you say? Listen, I'm still smiling, and I'm still fortunate. I've enjoyed what I've done. I enjoyed the motor racing.
Well, listen, it's great to see you here, John. Great to see you back amongst the Sports 2000 guys again, and hopefully the rest of the day goes well for you. Enjoy it. Another established British sports car driver here this weekend, Nick Adams. Of course, Nick, great to have you here as well. Great memories for you for Sports 2000, I'm sure.
Yeah, very good, very much so, and I'm pleased to see it's in such good health. Obviously, good organisation. Just watched some great racing, so that's encouraging. I did 2 years, 78, 79. First year in a Lola, won a couple, and was pretty confident the following year in a Tiger, which was slightly better chassis. But I only found out recently when I read Hank Ganley's autobiography that they were running a works car, which we were told they weren't. So I don't think I ever won a race, but the whole thing about Sports 2000 was then it was very, very competitive. Some really good, seriously good drivers, but it was just fun, and there was none of the sort of slightly contentious stuff that goes on perhaps in single-seaters. So it was serious racing, but a lot of fun, which is what I wanted.
You've driven Group C, you've driven Le Mans, you've driven all sorts of powerful sports cars. How do these Sports 2000s compare to anything you've ever raced before?
Okay, there's definite similarities. Any racing car, if it's well designed and works properly, doesn't matter how much horsepower you've got. It's the same problem to make it go around the circuit as quick as it'll go. So going up to Group C is quicker, a lot quicker. International racing, which makes it more of a challenge, but there's definite link, and that was my chosen path, sports cars.
Of course, looking at the cars we've got the Duratecs here, very fast, in a straight line, vastly around the corners, but how pleasing is it for you to see so many of the historic Pinto cars that with some of the manufacturers like Tiger and Shrike and a few other manufacturers that are still out there and still well maintained out on track today?
Well, lovely, absolutely lovely to see it. My Tiger got turned into one of those silhouette supercars, which is a great shame actually. It was very successful, but no, I mean 1979 was the last year before the Shrikes and the low-profile cars came in, so it was just straight fight in those days with Lolas and Tigers. But great to see them out there, absolutely great.
It's also great to see you here as well. Of course, I can see the smile on your face that you're enjoying yourself. So great to have you here, Nick. Great to catch up with you and enjoy the rest of your day. Hope it goes well.
Thank you very much.
Our first look at the Sports 2000 historic cars coming onto track, their third race of the season. As with the Duratec cars, had their opening round at Donington Park, and we've got a great field of the historics here, and such is the overall entry, we've had to split them up, so a great chance to look separately at the historics from the Duratec cars. A number of great onboards we've got for you this weekend. We're just looking at Simon Aldworth, who lines up 15th on the grid. Pole position to Rob Hall in the Shrike. John Harmer is alongside in the Tiger. Then Tim Jacobson in his Shrike. Nick Hyatt fourth on the grid from Ross Hyatt and Charlie Besley. And here is championship, defending champion Trevor Welsh, second in Class C at the moment in the championship standings, lining up alongside Paul Street, who is the championship leader. Lights are on here at Silverstone, and out we go. It's John Harmer, nearest camera, P2. Remember, pole position the outside line. And John Harmer getting the better of Rob Hall off the start. So it's John Harmer leading. Rob Hall is trying to put a move on him in white, in the mix with Simon Aldworth down towards Maggots for the first time. Rob Hall is the leader, but John Harmer looks on the inside as they exit Maggots, coming into Beckett's corner. Outside run there for Charlie Besley. He's on the outside of Paul Street in white, the championship leader. We talk about classes and class championships as the race continues, but it's actually John Harmer who's got the better of Rob Hall on lap number one. Hall taking a wide line as he come down into Brooklands for the first time. Mega move up the inside for Paul Street. Paul in the Lola T8790, and I think we had a spinner there. Clive Steeper, his on board, giving us the run out of Brooklands. Most of the drivers all okay on the first lap. Still got Charlie Besley in the Class C Tiger on the outside run. And it's another Tiger, John Harmer, that leads. So Harmer up ahead of Rob Hall. Very closely fought between the pair of them. Only a tenth between them in the qualifying session earlier this morning. And they go through. It's 116 in third place. Tim Jacobson in Class A. We're in car with Trevor Welsh running at the moment in fourth position, as we mentioned, the reigning historic champion. Ross and Nick Hyatt, Class Pinto champions in previous years. Paul Street, another former champion. Clive Steeper, year before last, historic champion. Colin Farabend, the champion the year before that. And a super amount of choice that you can have, not only of chassis available, but of racing. You know, you could race one of the historic cars, maybe as a great introduction for young drivers into the championship, which we'll hear about a little bit later on. Or you can go straight into the Duratecs, which run 4 or 5 seconds a lap quicker. So that's a good step forward. Now this is a replay, and it was pole position man Rob Hall going off track. Now Rob has rejoined, but as you can see, John Harmer in the Tiger is well clear now of Tim Jacobson in second position. Third place now is Trevor Welsh. The rest of the cars coming through, so it's going to be a recovery job for the white number 35 of Rob Hall, the pole position man. And that's David Muse, the Class B Championship leader in his Shrike, coming into pit lane. So David Muse, who took 2 class wins at Donington Park, 15th overall and 7th overall in his 2 races. And not to be his day today, Rob Hall running. So Class B runners not having a happy race, Rob Hall Class B as well. So the fact that Rob Hall is still running means that he could well, assuming he gets to the finish, there is Rob Hall, grab the class win and the points to close in on David Muse in the championship. Both of those drivers running in the Shrike P16, which was, as we look at our race leader John Harmer, the Shrike Class B 1984 to 1986 cars, Class C for the earlier cars, 1983 and earlier, and then Class A, the more modern machinery. As we look at Simon Aldworth, who has one of our onboard cameras racing there with Charlie Hyatt in his Tiger, 1987 and later Class A. And the Class A and B cars, and indeed the Cs, all tend to get mixed up on the grid, so it will depend on maybe a bit of development and the engineering on the cars, but it is nice to recognise those 3 different eras of historic Sports 2000 racing. On board with Trevor Welsh, so Trevor working hard to keep up with the podium positions here. Trevor running in 3rd place at the moment. And the race leader John Harmer away and down the road. Now John in the Tiger, there is the 2nd place car of Tim Jacobson. Jacobson heading Trevor Welsh, and then Paul Street, championship leader in the number 48. Clive Steeper is coming in as well. So Clive Steeper, not the happiest. He's actually chasing his first finish of the year, had a retirement at Donington. And the Class C car coming into pit lane as Street has a look here, gets the inside at Brooklands, but as so often on the twists and turns of this part of Silverstone, means that he's got the outside for the next corner. Comes out of Brooklands, heads into Woodcote, and he has to concede the place. Nicholas Hyatt is behind them in the Lola 1988-90 car. Talking about the race leading Tiger, which we're not looking at incidentally, but if I don't make the point, I'll never get to it, and that is that the man behind Tiger cars, Howden Ganley, is here this weekend, and we'll be catching up with him. So lovely to chat with some of the alumni of Sports 2000 over the years. Very well remember John Brindley racing back in the MCD days at Brands Hatch and the like, and wonderful to see him here today. And Howden Ganley, as I mentioned, is here, the man behind Tiger. A renowned sports car racer, renowned engineer building the Tigers as well, but also had 41 starts in Grand Prix racing back in the day, and quite a few point scoring positions as well. So not only a terrific engineer, but a wonderful driver as well. Peter Needham here up ahead of Nicholas Hyatt, those two having a very good battle of it at the moment. Peter Needham in the lone Van Diemen in this race. Lots of marks represented. We've got Tiger out front at the moment, Van Diemen, Shrike, Lola, Nick Bailey in the Royale as well. I think I've probably name-checked all the manufacturers we have that are represented this weekend. This is a keen battle between these two. Nick Hyatt busy chasing a joint Pinto champion last year with Ross. You can share a car, which is again not unique to British motor racing to win a championship, but it's a lovely feature if you want to invest in a car and share the costs of a car and then just argue about who does the racing. But it works out very well for those that do. This weekend we've got the 27 car, the lead car, John Harmer, who shares with Mark Narrow and Mark will do race 2 as he did at Donington Park in the first event of the year. John Harmer taking second position overall, C1 Class C win in race 1 at Donington. Mark sadly retiring the car. We'll see what Mark can do today. You're inevitably going to have a quicker driver from the two if you do share a car over the course of the season, but you can both very much enjoy it. So Paul Street having been dealt with, and now we pick up on the various battles happening down the order. It's still John Harmer out front. Rob Hall, incidentally, has got the fastest lap of the race. Now bear in mind that the Class B car of Rob Hall is 84 to 86, and he's quickest. The Class A fastest lap, which is with Peter Needham, and there is Peter still at the moment ahead of Nick Hyatt, looking to try and work his way through, and we've still got the 48 car of Paul Street down behind him as well. What I'm getting around saying is that the newest class has is the slowest, fastest lap out of the 3 classes that we have. Clive Steeper managed to get back out on track, which is great news, but he's running in 17th position at the moment, so at least it's a shakedown for the car, and he'll be able to maybe put in a more demonstrative race in race number 2. That's Richard Cook running in 5th position in Class A in his red and black Lola, having a lonely time of it at the moment. Is Richard Cook, and that is a problem. That's Paul Street, so the Class A driver, championship leader, coming into pit lane. Wow, we're seeing some drama here today with some key drivers having problems. David Muse and Paul Street, 2 class leaders. Let's hope that doesn't augur badly for Chris Snowden, who leads Class C. There in 69 is Ross Hyatt. Ross running in Class A, as indeed Nick Hyatt is in the pale blue car. So Nick in the pale blue, Ross in the silver, being chased by Charlie Hyatt in the Tiger SC83. All of them Charlie Hyatt in Class C. I was about to say all of them in Class C, but Nick and Ross running in Class A. So having sorted that out, still it is John Harmer the race leader, and we're looking at Peter Needham here chasing 3rd position, which is Trevor Welsh at the moment, the former champion. 2nd position in Class C, 5 points adrift of Chris Snowden coming to Silverstone this weekend, so he'll be hoping to pull a few points back on Chris in this race as we look at the 54 of Peter Needham, and now back with the 35 of Rob Hall, making great progress. Rob Hall coming through the field, passing Simon Aldworth, so that will move him up into 11th place, I think, at the moment. John Harmer still out front. Was on the pace very quickly, fastest lap for him, not been bettered thus far in his class, 61.696, averaging a shade under 100 miles an hour average around Silverstone, which, when you consider the twists and turns, is a fair old turn of speed. There is Chris Snowden chasing the 16 car of Richard Cook we saw earlier on. So Chris Snowden has closed down on him. Richard Cook running in Class A. And in the meantime, we go back with Trevor Welsh, who's coming under a little bit of pressure now from Peter Needham. Look at the rear-facing camera. Peter Needham mounting a challenge. They come down past the grandstands on the right-hand side, and Needham goes through, set the car up well. There was a little bit of a gap, and Peter Needham goes through and past Trevor Welsh. Trevor in Class C, Peter in Class A. But there's pride at stake, obviously, for the overall positions as well. So Peter Needham up into 3rd place. He'll be looking ahead, as we will in a moment, and he'll see the 2nd position car of Tim Jacobson in red immediately ahead. So Trevor Welsh down into 4th position, Peter Needham 3rd, Tim Jacobson at the moment running in 2nd, and John Harmer the race leader. Tim Jacobson just goes out of shot. Down behind them we've got the slightly paler blue car, if that's the word, Nick Hyatt from Charlie Besley, who's settled down from all his good outside runs have netted him 6th position so far, and some decent points. Charlie Belsley, 3rd in Class C. I'm wondering whether Trevor Welsh can get back on the case, or whether we're going to see Tim Jacobson pull away. It does look like Tim is starting to get away. Again, a wonderful onboard shot, perfect conditions, and a really good look at how these cars behave as they now come through Woodcote and continue on. Still John Harmer, the lead. He's built up a lead of over 10 seconds. We watched the 3rd place car trying to close in on Tim Jacobson. So Peter Needham in blue chasing Tim Jacobson in red. Another red car, the Lola of Trevor Welsh, next up from Nick Hyatt. Then Charlie Besley in the white Tiger that we see there. Have a quick look at Trevor's rear camera. No, nothing doing there. It's all about forward facing for him at the moment. Out of Beckett's, he comes now onto the Wellington straight. A little bit of a kink you can see to the left as they exit Beckett's. Get onto that straight. Fastest point on the track, very nearly up to 120 miles per hour here. So really super value, high speed motor racing in a friendly environment from the Championship, whether you're in the Historics or the Sports 2000 Duratec Championship, which we saw earlier on. We'll have another race from them coming up for you. Tomorrow's race coming up later in our programme. Race leader meanwhile, John Harmer, still out front, still clear. Hasn't bettered his 3rd lap time of that 61-second lap, although he is pretty consistent in that. The other drivers tending to get maybe a little bit more at one with their cars, or settle with their cars later on in the race, having slightly better laps. Peter Needham certainly getting quicker. There is Ross Hyatt, 7th position, 4th in Class A. So the classes at the moment, John Harmer the leader, Class A headed by Tim Jacobson from Peter Needham. Trevor Welsh is 2nd in Class C, John Harmer the leader in that class, and Class B, Rob Hall, the lone runner, who was out front at the start of the race, in the mix as well. And there's Chris Snowden, still enjoying his battle with Richard Cook. Chris Snowden, Championship leader, as we mentioned, after Donington Park for Class C in his Tiger. Trevor Welsh was the driver behind him in the Championship in the Lola. So Class A Championship positions: Lola, Shrike, Lola, top 3. Class B, Shrike. Class C, Tiger, Lola, Tiger, Tiger. Burning bright. No, we won't go there. Tigers do burn bright though. Wonderful cars, and a good mix of machinery here once again on display. Next round of the Championship is at Brands Hatch. There is Simon Aldworth in his Lola T492. He's only got one other example. He's beating Andreas Flott at the moment, who's also running in one of those. There's Peter Needham. Now Peter Needham has closed down. That's Tim Jacobson out front, and Peter Needham is closing in on not only 2nd position but also the class lead for the 1987 and later cars. So that's one that we need to keep an eye on, and the gap is coming down, and I'm wondering whether Tim Jacobson is aware. I'm sure he is aware that his wing mirrors and his central mirror are being filled with blue. We have a quick look at the leader. John Harmer is still here and leading the race, and cleared by over 10 seconds. He goes through the Brooklands Luffield complex on towards Woodcote again, and looking pretty comfortable here. Only had the one race so far, 2nd position, remember, in this shared car in the opening round at Donington Park. Well clear, goes on to the last lap. This is the battle for 2nd position overall and Class A honours, and Peter Needham is right with Tim Jacobson, tees up the inside run as they cross the line, going down into Copse Corner. Is there momentum on the outside for Jacobson to hold on to the class lead? It doesn't look like it. Peter Needham, I think, is going to go through. Jacobson might get the advantage at Maggots because he's got the inside run before they head into Beckett's, but the job has been completed by Peter Needham, who takes the class lead, and 2nd position here from Tim Jacobson, who may well fight back. Meanwhile, at the other end of the straight, it's John Harmer going into Brooklands, the left-hander. Right-hander now at Luffield, continuing right, ever right, as it were, through into Woodcote. He's closing up on Andreas Floth in the Lola T492, but John Harmer's going to pick up his first overall win of the year. There is the checkered flag. Congratulations, John. What about the battle between the classes? There's Nick Bailey incidentally coming through as well, and consolidating the class win and second overall is going to be Peter Needham. There is the checker from Peter. What a race from him, a flourish at the end of the race. Tim Jacobson second, Trevor Welsh is going to take second in Class C behind John Harmer, and fourth overall, third completing Class A podium, fifth position, third in Class A is Nick Hyatt, and third in Class C, Charlie Besley. What a race we've had. It's been a good opener for the Locks for Vans Sports 2000 Historic Championship here at Silverstone. 20 laps in 20 minutes 41.106 as across the line goes Richard Cook, fifth position in Class A, chasing Chris Snowden, Class Championship leader, who takes seventh in class, but John Harmer takes the win. Remember, that car will see Mark Nauro racing in race number 2, but Mark knows he's got a car capable of winning to use in race 2. Harmer the winner then from Peter Needham, who wins Class A, from Tim Jacobson, Trevor Walsh next up, then Nick Hyatt and Charlie Besley from Ross Hyatt and Rob Hall. Good recovery into 8th for Rob. Charlie Hyatt 9th from 10th position, Mike Fry. Simon Aldworth was next from Chris Snowden and Richard Cook. Andreas Floth in 14th from Nick Bailey and Clive Steeper. Non-finishes for Full Street, David Muse. Fastest laps in class, Rob Hall, Class B. John Harmer in Class C, Peter Needham in Class A. All the drivers engage in a good bit of banter and chat after the race, and we'll take on board some water down here in Parc Ferme and look forward to tomorrow's race for sure. Some of it quite animated, as you can see. Let's join Scott in victory lane.
With John, fantastic drive in that first race. Lights the flag victory from pole position. It looked like a fairly straightforward Sunday morning drive.
Looks easy, doesn't it? I know, but it was really good, really excellent. I really wanted to win that one. So yeah, the start was good. Actually, I got off the line well. Rob went with me, but then just started to creep ahead, and we were flat through Copse, flat up the hill, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to have to tuck in here. And I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going down the inside. So that was okay, and he was with me, so it was going to be a really good dice. I think it was for a couple of laps, and then he just disappeared at Copse, and I thought, well, I'm sure he hasn't spun. It just wasn't in my mirrors anymore, so I think he might have had a mechanical, but yeah, brilliant.
Basics really strong in the car. Is that just from testing or from the previous round at Donington? What have you done to the car since?
Well, we did test on Friday actually, and I wasn't going to do too many laps. Obviously, I'm sharing the car with Mark, so we share the sessions, but I thought, well, we'll just do a few laps. But actually, it's so quick here. You're averaging nearly 100, which is like 20 miles an hour up on other tracks. So it just took us both a while to get our eye in. And then we just did a little bit of corner weight work, just some minor changes, but otherwise, yeah, the car's behaved impeccably. So compared with some of the others, we've been lucky.
You've also got Locks for Vans, of course, a sponsor for this season. How pleased are you with their support so far?
Oh, that's been brilliant. You know, Locks for Vans have come in, they're super enthusiastic, and it's great that we've got their full livery on cars that are doing well. Tom's car in the Duratex and this one here, so I hope they get good value from their investment.
Next test is to try and make it 2 out of 2 from pole. Tall order, but do you reckon you can do it?
Well, it won't be me, so we're sharing the car. So Mark's driving the car, and I just spoke to him, and I think somebody else said, so you're on pole? And he said, yeah. So I said, I'll keep giving it to you, just, you've got the best start, just keep it there.
Definitely no pressure.
Well, that's the problem. I said, just don't let anybody past you. It's quite easy. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, Peter, excellent drive from 8th to 2nd on the grid, and you were having a great battle in the last couple of laps. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a poor qualifying because rear brakes have disappeared, a problem I've sort of inherited from Donington, and thought we'd cured it, and then the master cylinder failed completely. Managed to borrow one off Trevor Walsh, actually, who we had a good battle with, so that were a bit embarrassing, borrowing a part of Treasure and then beating him. But it was quite good fun.
Did you wave to whilst you went past?
Yeah, we did actually. But yeah, well, I mean, we help each other, so that's what Sports 2000's about, really. It's helping each other. But I had a good battle, and we had Ross with the same. We were good with Ross, and same as Nick Hyatt. Me and him had a really close battle, and we even touched a couple of times, I think, into Luffield and around that area. But it were fair, very fair.
Yeah. But firm but fair out there seems what it's all about.
Yeah, well, the speeds you're doing, and you're not driving around the corners, you're drifting a little bit, so you can't really be that accurate, and it's all a bit difficult.
So your next task, front row of the grid now for the second race. Got to see if you can beat the I think it's Mr. John down towards turn 1.
No, I'm not sure I'll beat John. It's I'm afraid I've still got the same tyres from Brands Hatch last year, and so it'll be a tall task. And I think he's lapping probably a second faster than me. I think he's been down in the 101s most of the laps, and I'm just into the 101s. So it'll be a tall task. But there again, if you apply pressure to people, sometimes it's enough. And we'll see what happens.
Lap times are good for tyres that are old from Brands Hatch.
Yeah, they last quite a long time if you're careful, and I'm a Yorkshireman, so I'm quite tight and I don't like buying tyres.
Great stuff. Well, fantastic drive, and fingers crossed for the front row. But Peter, congratulations on second place.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll try and see if we can get first, but you never know.
Well, Tim, great race to take third position. It was getting really close at the end between yourself and Peter towards the end.
Yeah, I just was in a gap between the first two guys, and obviously the Shrike retired, so I was just working away, keeping ahead of the guys behind me, I guess, and before I know it, I was probably just in a bit of sort of, no one to chase, found myself in a gap, and probably just started going backwards. I think, Peter was closing me, and yeah, he just nipped me at the end, and I wasn't going to get involved in anything controversial. I just sort of gave him plenty of space and probably could have nipped him back, but just didn't get it all hooked up. But hey, with these things, delighted with third place nonetheless. It's a good result for us. It just keeps us ticking over, so it's good.
Car looks in good shape as well.
Looks okay, doesn't look like it's done anything hard work, so maybe that is down to me after all. So maybe we need to make it go a bit harder next time out.
The second row for the second race, do you reckon you can try and muscle between them and try and get towards the front?
I'll give it a bash. That worked last time out, so I had a reasonably good start this time, but they were still to manage to get away, so I'll do my best and see what we can do, make it more interesting.
A very warm welcome back to Silverstone and the second event of the 2022 Sports 2000 Championship. The track is being prepared for race 2. The cars are being prepared for race 2. But before we go racing, Scott is down in the paddock with some more interviews.
The two drivers who certainly know all about Sports 2000, Ganley and Mick Mobley. Great to have you both here this weekend here at Silverstone. Howden, we'll start with you first. You've had quite a long and illustrious career with racing sports cars a lot, and a few Grand Prix on top of that, but how nice it is to be back along some proper grassroots sports prototype racing.
Yeah, well, it's great. Particularly that last race we came to see was won by one of my cars, the Tiger. So far I'm having a really good day, but it is great to see so many of them still here, still out racing. The 79, 80 cars. Amazing they're still alive.
So tell us about your career with Sports 2000. What sort of history do you have with the championship and these kind of cars?
Well, we joined in, we were persuaded to build cars to fit the formula when it started in 77, sorry. And then we developed our car and eventually we became the dominant make. And we eventually, over the years, we sold 250 Sport 2000, Europe, here, and in America. So Sports 2000 for me has got a lot of good memories.
How great is it to see so many of those cars in circulation still racing, particularly here this weekend at Silverstone? It must be pretty satisfying. A lot of your customers have kept them going. Yes,
it's very satisfying. And when we were building them in period, I never imagined that I would be here so many years later. And there they are, they're still going around and still winning.
Do you fancy getting back behind the wheel of them yourself?
No, way too old. I'm way too old, too dopey, too slow, can't see where I'm going. No, it's a fantasy to get back behind the wheel, but the real part is that I shouldn't, can't, won't.
Great stuff. Well, it's great to see you here, of course, Hanley. Well, have a chat with you, Mick. Of course, you've rallied for people like Ian Flux in the past as well with championships. You've got great memories of being in these kind of paddocks and racing with these kind of sports cars in the past as well.
Yes. Well, I ran Ian Flux, Sean Walker, Evan Clements, Tony Westwood, even David Proffitt. We've been doing Sports 2000 for a long time. Very fond memories. It's lovely to see the cars out again. Some of them look even better than they did in period, as Howden will say.
They do, yeah.
And it's just a good formula, to be truthful, for someone to start up in and to develop the driving skills. it's really, competitive. Really, the Pinto class brings special memories to me, and I think Howden's about the same. And it's always been very, very competitive, and a good comradeship between the drivers and the teams, and it's been very good to me.
How impressed do you see, like I spoke to Howard, of course, how impressed do you see so many cars in great condition, particularly the older historic cars that have been in good spec given they've been around for so long?
Yeah, it's very good that people maintain them, and of course there's a really good spares industry going on for Sports 2000. You've got people making bodywork still, people making wishbones and components, and it's been a good thing for Britain, to be truthful. 90% of the cars manufactured in Britain.
Yes.
Lola,
certainly,
Tigers,
yes.
Shrikes, Guns, all local British stuff.
And of course, the races have been great today as well. How much have you impressed with some of the driving standards that have been out over this weekend? It's been pretty top-class racing. They pushed them quite hard.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see some of the older guys, still being able to run at the front. It's really, really good. I've really enjoyed coming this weekend.
Well, it's great to have you both here. It's wonderful to have you watching the championship and be a part of the paddock. So, Howard and Mick, fantastic to have you here, and thanks for having a chat to us.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Another notable name from the world of sports cars back here this weekend, also racing as well as with his son, is Ross Hyatt. Ross, great to have you here this weekend and in the championship, and also sponsoring it as well. Let's talk about that first. How did you become involved in it?
Well, it was really a friend who said that I was trying to bring my sons into it, and the question is, do you go-karting or do you do BRDC Formula 4 and all these? I looked at all the costs of it, and it's just astronomical. So I've got two sons who wanted to race, so I started racing myself in them, and I just absolutely love the Pintos because you've got slicks and no wings, so you've now got more adhesion and less power. So the only way you can go quickly is to drive the wheels off the thing. So it's a great learning base to work from.
How much knowledge have you passed on to your son Nick, because you're racing alongside him in the same championship? How much are you passing on to him in terms of your expertise to help him get up to speed?
Yeah, I help them setting up the cars, but with all the data you've got these days, with the V-boxes and everything, you've got it all there. And of course, they're all computer geniuses now compared to me, so they're looking at everything and analysing everything, and then they're now telling me all the things I'm doing wrong. So it's great fun. It really is. Motorsport, if you can have fun with it as well as the thrill of doing it, it's great. Otherwise, you've got so much pressure. And this is the whole team, everybody that's involved in SRCC. They're all just like a big family. So everybody comes along, the mothers, fathers, all the kids. It's a great thing to be involved in. So I'm really, really pleased to get involved. And then the Pinto side came about because it was one of those classic situations of, will we ever get a grid big enough to race separately to the Duratecs? And so my company, Apsley House, we decided, right, let's sponsor it, because it's a little bit like, if you build it, they'll come. So we said, right, let's try it. And we've gone from getting sort of 12 cars, 8 to 12 cars on a grid, to 22 at Donington and 21 here, and hopefully even more coming out. So we should be able to have Pinto-only races as well as the Duratec races, which will be fantastic for both the club and for everybody who's involved.
Right, and of course, it's great for you to be in the championship, because when you've had such a quiet career racing world sports cars, you raced at Le Mans, you've raced manufacturers like Ford and Ferrari. It must be great to get something a bit more grassroots like this and to be different bit of beast. Obviously, they're quite different to the cars that you've raced in the past.
They're very different to those cars, but at the end of the day, once you've got your helmet on and you're going through a corner, it's either understeering, oversteering, or it's going through beautifully. And all the mechanical aids and the power and everything else. I mean, I've raced McLaren M8s with 900 brake horsepower. These are just as much fun. In fact, even more fun, because you're absolutely on the limit with them, and the challenge to drive them is just as equal. So, but at probably 10% of the budget, and that's really the thing, is that this is a formula that everybody can do. If you want a motor race, this is a great series to do.
I can see and hear the enthusiasm and the smile on your face. You really do enjoy being in these kind of cars, regardless of the power. You're pushing them as hard as you can.
Yeah, and to be on a grid for a father, to be on a grid with his sons or daughters, is absolutely fantastic. And everybody will help you. Anybody who wants to come and do this, come and join in. We'll help you. You can have as much information as you wish. You have all our setup, anything you wish. We'll help them.
So Richard Johnson, 4th place on the grid after 4th place yesterday. How's the car been so far?
Well, we're a little disappointed yesterday. We made some changes but didn't go the right way, so it was never quite the same setup because we're on used tyres now, but hopefully we've made an improvement and adjusted some gear ratios. You know, when you're in P4 you may as well make a few changes because you know what you got to lose, so we're not going in that direction quick enough, so let's do something about it and we'll have a go. But yeah, looking forward to the race. All the guys around me are all good, safe drivers, so we'll have a good race.
What do you think the key's going to be in a start like this with cars like these? Is it just getting it off a line, or is it trying to just survive the first lap or two?
Yeah, just quick reactions. All these guys at the front, they're all lining quick. So yeah, just make sure you don't get any wheel spin and get off as quick as you can, and just get slotted in really. And they're so even. You know, you're dragging to the first couple of corners. So just get your car position well and get your head down and just go for it.
So Tim, 5th on the grid, 3rd row. How are you feeling ahead of race 2?
Yeah, we had a disrupted qualifying really, so we had a couple of issues between practice and qualifying, and we carried that through qualifying, so I was down on power, but with the students and MCR helped us out, we were back on pace in the race, so 5th was pretty good recovery from 9th, to see if I can carry on doing the same direction this one.
How much you'll be able to try and tweak some of the problems? Are you still carrying 1 or 2 into this race?
No, we think we're on top of things now, so we should be, you know, I think we're around 4th or 5th on pace, so if we can stay where we are or move forward would be ideal, so that's what the target is.
Coming out on track there is Nick Bates. Pole position goes to race 1 winner Joshua Law from Michael Gibbons. Tom Stoughton on row 2 with Richard Johnson. Tim Tudor, who we just heard from. Incidentally, he's a senior motorsport engineering lecturer, hence he's talking about students that he's working with, giving young people a great opportunity to get involved in the motorsport industry. James Barwell 6 on the grid alongside Tim Tudor. Class B pole Grant Gibson from Peter Brewer. Lights are already on and we are racing here again. Looks like a good start from Michael Gibbons in blue, and poles the outside line. Joshua Law, race 1 winner in the green and black car. They are side by side as they go into Copse for the first time. Who's going to get the run out of the leaders? Can't see from the lovely wide angle shot from Tim Tudor's on board, but it's as you were, Joshua Law out front. So Josh Law the race leader, Michael Gibbons in second. There in treble 1 is Grant Gibson, first class win of the year for him in race number 1 here. Side by side momentarily down the straight, but that is ceded to Josh Law, who leads. So the leading pair opened up a wee bit of a gap over 3rd place, which currently is held by the other interviewee that we heard from. And there's a problem for David Gorst. David having a retirement in race number 1. It's almost mirrored what happened to him at Donington Park, because he was he retired in race number 1 of that. And we'll come back to that a little bit later on, because Tim Tudor having a look here at Tom Stoughton. So MCR on the inside run of the gun. Now, what did I say about track limits in race number 1? They're all behaving themselves. This is lap 2, and you are going to get track limits infringements when the cars are racing close together. The 40 car of Tim Tudor in 5th place had a slightly tighter line, so he looked for the inside run, but Tom Stoughton's car had more momentum on the outside. There is Dominic Leslewski, who had a DNF in race number 1. So much to talk about at the moment. And Tom Stoughton trying to get on terms with Richard Johnson in this one, and joining in is Tim Tudor. Again, fantastic shot. You can see the blue skies out front, or overhead I should say, and that means we've got warmer conditions than we had yesterday. Some of the drivers were dehydrated after yesterday's race, might be even more so today. And Tudor's having a look now again for 3rd position, gets his nose in front, and he's on the inside line again, but Stoughton using the momentum of the outside as they go through Copse Corner, all keeping it this time back on the track limits. There's no persistent track limits faults there, and so race control, keep an eye. If you haven't been to race control, it's a bank of screens, and it's difficult for the officials to, I guess, see all of them. There's Leslewski on the outside of Bates as they go through Beckett's. back with the scrap for third place. And Tom Stoughton putting the pressure on Richard Johnson at the moment. In car with Colin Peach, who looks across. Passed by David Horton in the number 8. Nick Bates goes through as well. Coming now down into Nuffield, then into Woodcote. You can see how they can peel off into the pit lane here, into the historic Formula One pits, as they now call it. I must say, I much prefer the national circuit to the other half of Silverstone, which is used. Just a personal preference. I think the racing generally on this circuit is better, and that's just on what I've seen over the years, and we've seen some good racing so far here this weekend. And exactly that is what is going on here with Tom Stoughton, the defending champion, busy chasing Richard Johnson at the moment, with Tim Tudor not too far away, just keeping the watching brief on those cars. The rest of them are all still busy working it out. The Class B victor there in the white Van Diemen, Grant Gibson, looking to add a second class victory of the season for himself in this one. And a spin, that is David Horton, who spins in front of the traffic. My goodness, there must have been some lightning reactions to avoid that. In car with Colin Peach, see how quickly that was very cool from Colin. That's not an easy thing to do, but all the drivers have got past. Here's the view from David. Was it the downshift that caused the car to spin around right into the face of the traffic? You see a lot of them were from that angle maybe looking as if he wasn't online, but he was on the apex of the corner. Thankfully David has recovered, and I wonder if he has a problem with the car. He had a retirement in race number 1 today. 2 7th places for him at the first event at Donington Park, 5th in the championship coming here, on the basis of those 2 7th positions. So again, super racing from this. If you're a spectator or driver, it has so much to offer, Sports 2000, including a very rich history. As Steve Uff continues to fend off Josh Needham. Josh getting his first finish of the season under his belt in race number 1, the Class B driver, 13th position, which I think was 4th in class. Have to check that out as we go on board with Colin Peach once again in the 117. Josh Needham 5th in class in actual fact in race number 1, just checking the paperwork. And things now, of course, starting to settle down. You get sort of 4 or 5 minutes into the race. It is a 25-minute race, as indeed race 1 was, and people kind of find their level, and then they'll go through the mindset of, once the race rhythm is established, working out who it is that they can attack on circuit. We're looking at Richard Johnson from Tom Stoughton. Tom was 3rd in race number 1, Richard Johnson 4th. They've swapped on the first lap of this race. And then Tim Tudor in car number 40, again a consistent 5th place, the man from Cardiff, chasing down. That is such a superb shot. He's got that camera well set up for us in his car, and Tom Stoughton in the Locks for Vans car going around Beckett's, again continuing his chase of Richard Johnson, still in 3rd place. So Johnson with a wheel on the podium, and just thinking about this, if he stays in 3rd, he'll bingo the whole set, 1st, 2nd, 4th and 3rd from the 4 races, but he'll want to get up higher than that, and he needs to, in order to do that, I think needs to fend off Tom Stoughton for the moment. Stoughton's results thus far: 5-3-3 squadron, 5th at Donington, 3rd, 2nd race at Donington, 3rd here at Silverstone. Yes, I know the number was wrong, but you try and find things to say, as Tim Tudor again continues his chase in car with James Barwell. James in the 77 car, you can see there, working hard, trying to close down on Tim Tudor at the moment. You might notice the new LED lights around the track as well, which are replacing marshals having to flag. It's had a mixed reaction from the drivers. From my point of view, I think flags are more visible, but I don't know. We need to probably talk to some drivers and get some feedback on that. certainly from the commentary perspective, I think that it's easier to see flags as we watch Richard Johnson still being chased by Tom Stoughton. David Gorst is past. That's what the blue flashing light was for, David Gorst, to let him know that he had some faster cars coming. And of course most drivers are very much aware of that. David didn't cause any problems for the lead drivers coming through. David, retiree in race number 1, so hopefully getting whatever problems he had sorted out in this one. Still very close indeed between Johnson and Stoughton in this race. Peter Brewer is there and leading Class B here, Peter Brewer. That's a case of getting back onto the top step of the podium. He had a brace of class wins at Donington. Not sure if I covered that off in race number 1. I don't think I did. There's James Barwell, who was a Class A podium finish, outright podium finisher at Donington. The other podium finishers in Class B, John Owen, a second and a third. Grant Gibson, who took the win in Class 1, in race 1 here, had a second and a third at Donington Park. So all good, close, competitive stuff in all of the classes in Sports 2000 at the moment. There is Ashley Law up ahead of Josh Needham. And again, you'll see right the way through the race, right the way through the order, you'll find someone to race with. So newcomers can find someone to race with. The experienced drivers obviously are going to be away and up the road and dicing with each other and having some great racing. You also will, as one of the front runners, get into a little bit of traffic at various stages of the race as we rejoin the battle for third. And look ahead at the clear track. First and second are away. Josh Law and Michael Gibbons have again broken the toe of the chasers. And Tom Stoughton, I don't think he's going to be overly happy here. A, to be off the podium, and B, wants a little bit more out of the Gun TS11 in this race, but still in for some decent points if he can maintain 4th place, even though he's actually going to be chasing for a higher position. Steve up in the white, orange and blue car as we look at it, ahead of Mike Turner. And Mike, I think, Mike the only runner in the Derek Bell category once again. So in terms of the Derek Bell trophy, going back to Donington, Roger Donnan double winner in the Derek Bell trophy there. Not quite as many runners as perhaps we might have hoped for. Roger Donnan's feat will be matched this weekend, I think, by Mike Turner, assuming he gets his MCR to the line. Certainly did in race number 1 in 15th place. So he'll be looking to try and better that, working on his lap times as well over the course of the race too. Tim Tudor being caught by James Barwell. Lost a little bit of ground, James Barwell. Beg your pardon, Tim Tudor having lost a little bit of ground to Tom Stoughton. So the 40 car still running in 5th position. And how long is it going to take Barwell to get close enough to make a move and maybe grab 4th place? So Mike Turner, the chaser in this group, 25 car of Joshua Needham. These Duratec engines, marvellous sounding machines. They look fantastic as well. They're colourful, they're well prepared, and they're quick. And they produce some super racing. And a pass on here as they head up towards Maggots, now into Beckett's, and it's Josh Needham on the inside, gets the move done. Needham runs wide, we might get a crossover here. So they head down the Wellington Straight once again, round about the halfway point of this race. So Needham hangs on to that, so that was a very good move. You can see how on the edge the car was there, it got a little bit squirrely. And Ashley Law trying to hunt him down. Ashley under a little bit of pressure himself. Ahead of them, Steve Off still in the number 50 MCR S2. MCR, the company based at St David's in Pembrokeshire. I mentioned a few Welsh connections in the programme today with the formula now as Tom Stoughton challenges for 3rd place. Stoughton's got closer, looks for the inside as they go down into Brooklands. Now it looks like he's got pace and a bit of momentum here. Meanwhile, so is James Barwell chasing Tim Tudor. So we've got a scrap on for third position and also for fifth here. So a big shake-up going on. The race leader, incidentally, is still Josh Law from Michael Gibbons. Not seen how close those two are at the moment, but we've got a battle on for, effectively got three pairs in the top six, all squabbling over their own positions, and we rejoin James Barwell, who will continue to put the pressure on, and Josh Needham coming under pressure here from Steve Huff. Looks to the outside run here, possibly thinks about going on the inside, but he's just keeping the momentum going at the moment. Mike Turner, the red, white, black car going on the inside run there. You can see the lines that indicate the entry to the circuit from the pit lane. Nobody else utilising that at the moment. So the drivers all okay going through there. It's a very long pit lane exit here and quite early to get into the pits. I'm guessing probably due to the history of the track. Obviously the facility on the National Circuit, the pits facility, used as the historic Grand Prix circuit back in the day before the advent of the wing. As on the inside line here looks Josh Needham side by side with Nick Bates. Great racing between the pair of them. Needham in Class B, Bates one of the Class A runners. Again, whoever you are, you'll find someone to dice with. They come out of Woodcote, cross the line. Great racing, all good close stuff once again, and Needham I think has got that one sorted out at the moment, the Class B car. Needham running in a 2002 Van Diemen. So remember, Class B for the older cars. Pre-2007 generally, or the conversion from Pinto if there was a later Pinto car involved in the mix. We've already had a look at the historic championship, and Sports 2 over the years has provided great racing. That's why it's still going, because these cars are still desirable to watch and to drive and of course to own. Superb stuff. Fastest lap at the moment is Josh Law, if I've read this right, has just broken the lap record of 57.784. We'll come back to that. Colin Peach, meanwhile, looking to improve on his podium position in Class B, the 117 car. So there is Colin chasing John Owen. Peter Brewer still the class leader, and John Owen looking to maintain a 100% record on the podium for this year. Colin Peach grabbing a first podium of the season, I think, if I've got my maths right, here potentially. He was just off the podium in race number 1. So Colin Peach not looking too bad. There is the 77 car of James Barwell, and well, James was challenging Tim Tudor earlier on, but at the moment Tim's got the better of him. So it's still Joshua Law from Michael Gibbons. Probably need to pick up on the Richard Johnson and Tom Stoughton battle at some point. There is David Horton recovering after his moment earlier on. So David Horton running well. And we were asking about the leader, and there is Josh Law. And if you wanted to know how clear he was of Michael Gibbons, you could see that from the space behind him. Was that contact? And spinning around goes Ashley Law, and that's going to drop Ashley down the order. That's a big pity. Not getting going very quickly. That is possibly going to be a retirement for Ash Law. And the 73 car, 14th position in race number 1, and a bit of bodywork damage on the number 8 car of David Horton. Now is David going to have to pit? Ashley Law car's still there as the third and fourth place cars go through, so we've still got Horton doing the right thing and coming into pit lane. If he hadn't have done, he would have got the black and orange flag, very possibly. Great stuff from the marshals. Haven't had the opportunity to, well, I have had plenty of opportunity to thank marshals, but this is why we thank them. They're out in hot weather, multiple layers on, and they're with the race still live, going out and helping a driver who is stricken. Ashley Law, I suspect, is going to go into retirement. Tom Stoughton still there in 4th place. Richard Johnson immediately ahead of him in 3rd. These two have been battling hard right the way through the race. And back of shot, you can see Tim Tudor and James Barwell dicing over 5th position as well. Yellow flags there. Now, that goes back to I'll come back to that point in a minute as Ash Law's car gets pushed away. The point I was making is about that was a lovely shot that our director caught there, because you saw the LED and the flags. So the flags haven't been replaced, we've actually got both. And now we go into a green flag zone, you can see there. And that was actually pretty clear from the onboard, so I'm guessing it's nice and clear for the drivers. And maybe it depends on your personal vision as to which works best, whether it's flags or lights. But I think for me, I probably still prefer see the good old-fashioned flag. In car with Colin Peach once again. So busy chasing John Owen. Peter Brewer, I remind you, is the Class B leader. John Owen 2nd, Colin Peach in 3rd. So this for the 2nd step on the podium, and Peach looking to try and get his 1st podium of the year. 2 retirements at Donington. Got the car hooked up nicely. I think 4th in class in race number 1. Yes, he was, because John Owen was 10th overall, 3rd in class. Got the better of him that one, so Colin Peach again behind John Owen. Fascinating battle between these two. I think that was Ash Law just going through camera and being guided to safety by our marshals. In car with Peach again. Blue skies over. Fabulous conditions today for this race. Track conditions ideal. This is the run down the Wellington Straight. They'll turn left into Brooklands. Both of them taking a wide line into Brooklands, and certainly I don't think John Owen feels under massive pressure at the moment. There was no defensive line at all in his entry into Brooklands. Comes out of Woodcote now and will head round to tick off another lap in this 25-minute race, which again, race 1 was 26 laps, so we can maybe expect this one to pretty much go the same distance. One thing that has altered here is James Barwell going for position. This is for 5th place. Barwell's having a look. Is he going to be able to? He's on the wrong side of the track to make the move for Brooklands. Was he going to try and sell the 40 car a dummy? No, he's going to work for the outside line. See how they respect each other going in here on braking. Barwell can't quite do it, but Tim Tudor's under pressure. Lovely piece of racing between these two. Barwell seems to have a little bit more in the tank at the moment. Slightly wider line here. Loses a bit of ground as they come out of Woodcote now. Here they come. Circuit commentary box is over there on the left-hand side, past the grandstands. Down the main straight. Well, that was a good attempt at a pass. The race leader is working his way through the traffic. I think Nick Bates was the car past there, so Nick Bates, Steve Huff in the 50 car in the mix as well. And there is Nick Bates in the number 4. Steve Huff, David Gorse, David Horton still going as well, but a little bit of drift. And Joshua Law goes through the race leader. Now look for in the distance there. Look for blue. It was just in the back of shot. That's Michael Gibbons. He's around about 10 seconds adrift of the race leader and the new lap record holder here at Silverstone on the national circuit, this man Josh Law. So if you're doing your ARDS test and Josh takes it for you, he's probably too modest to say he's the lap record holder here at Silverstone, but if you do get him, along with many other decent ARDS drivers, that's his credential there. Double race winner potentially here and lap record holder. Still the scrap goes on for 3rd place. On a spin! Just as we said, Tom Stoughton was putting the pressure on Richard Johnson. Stoughton spins. Now, is he going to lose another place? Yes, he does. Tom Stoughton is down in 6th place, and the Tudor-Barwell battle now is over 4th position as they go on to the last lap. Tom Stoughton won't be happy with that. A spin on the exit of Maggotts going into Beckett. There is Michael Gibbons in 2nd position. He's on to his last lap. The gap is actually over 12 seconds now for the race leader, Joshua Law. We pick up, there is Gibbons in 2nd position. So Tudor and Barwell. So Richard Johnson now 3rd, as indeed he was before the spin. for Tom Stoughton, who has recovered, to be fair, in 6th place, and James Barwell chasing Tim Tudor. So this is for 4th place. The 111 car is Grant Gibson running 4th in Class B. Gibson, I think, maybe heading for his first non-podium in Class B this year. He's got the number 8 car of David Horton for company. David having that gyration and the pit stop as well, remember, for the errant piece of bodywork. So that change. So here is the scrap between Tudor and Barwell is piling the pressure on here, takes a wide run here, might be able to turn up the wick and get some momentum on the outside line. There was almost enough room to try and go for the outside, but he sticks as they head on to the last lap. Now it goes side by side, goes to the inside. Now is he going to be able to get the better momentum? And he does, and that's the first inside pass we've seen here that's worked successfully. Now, can Tim Tudor come back? We'll have to come back and review that, but James Barwell makes it up into 4th place. Here is the race leader, Joshua Law, who takes a second checkered flag here at Silverstone. A superb weekend for Law, new lap record, 2 wins, he's unbeaten. And we go back and pick up on 117, which is Colin Peach looking for a podium as well. There is Michael Gibbons in 2nd place at the checkered flag. Richard Johnson will take 3rd. Mike Turner has won the Derek Bell class again. There he is in the middle of shot there. And the battle for 4th place, James Barwell has held on. He's opened up a little bit of a gap over Tim Tudor, having taken the lead at Copse on the last lap, takes the flag. That was a super race all the way through the field. Here we go with Colin Peach. It's Peter Brewer leading Class B. John Owen 2nd place in Class B, in the blue car immediately ahead of us. And Colin Peach will get a podium there. A 3rd position for him at the checker here at Silverstone. So we've seen, seen all of our class winners cross the line. We didn't see Peter Brewer, unfortunately, but congratulations to Peter on taking that win. There is our outright winner, Josh Law, who will extend his championship lead this weekend. Some drivers clearly having a little bit of disappointment, including Ashley Law, but here's the result. Josh Law taking the win from Michael Gibbons, and Richard Johnson, James Barwell next from Tim Tudor and Tom Stoughton. Peter Brewer wins Class B from John Owen and Colin Peach. Grant Gibson wrapping up the top 10. Dominic Neslivsky, after disappointment in race 1, finishes in 11th from Josh Needham and Nick Bates. Derek Bell winner Mike Turner. Steve Off next in 15th from David Gorst and David Horton. Let's join Scott in Victory Lane.
Well, Josh, first on Saturday, first on Sunday, job done.
Literally could not have gone better. Yeah, perfect weekend, pole position and 2 race wins, fastest laps. Yeah, I'm pretty chuffed to say the least. So.
Like more the same from yesterday, was a little bit of pressure in the initial stages, but then once you found your rhythm, you seemed to create a gap and was relatively comfortable from there. Yeah,
it felt good. Like the first lap, me and Michael were very close. So but I think once I got in front. And like I say, just got into a bit of a rhythm and settled down. It felt quite easy, and it was good. Just nice to get in a rhythm and get a solid win. So, another solid win under the belt. Yeah, mega.
And that's also solid points for the championships, of course, going forward. I know it's early doors, but I mean, the start looks like it's been a pretty decent beginning to the year for you so far.
It has, yeah. It's been a fantastic start. Obviously, there's still a lot of races to go, so it could go anyway. But yeah, I mean, there's. It's definitely been a perfect way to start the year.
Well, Michael, another 2nd place. Now, like more the same for yesterday, bit of battling to try and get yourself up there and then create a gap at some point.
Yeah, I had a slightly better start than yesterday and gave him a little bit more of a rough time, but as soon as we got onto that back straight, he's so quick in a straight line. There's not a lot I could do when he's that quick, so I tucked in and I was just about hanging on for a few laps, and as soon as that that slight toe disappeared, the gap started to open, and then halfway through I developed a horrible misfire, and at that point it was just hang on to 2nd, which we did, and I think realistically that's all we were going to get from today. So it's good points, 2 2nd places, we'll take it and go a bit quicker at the next one.
What do you think you need to use the car now to kind of catch up to Josh and those guys, or do you think it's just more circuit to circuit that makes the difference?
Potentially a bit of circuit. Like we were really quick at Donington and should have won both those races, so I think there's an element that this is obviously being quick in a straight line here is really important, given it's just sort of a triangle with 3 long straights. We'll need to diagnose the problem on the engine, get that fixed, and see if there's anything we can do to optimise the engine where it is now. Next race is brand, so maybe slightly less power dependent than here, and see if we can rag on a bit more and close the gap.
It's a shorter circuit, a bit more of a speed bowl, so it's kind of a bit more stop-start than it is kind of here with the long straights, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be slightly less power dependent than where we are now. So, it's the Grand Prix circuit, and I love it. So, I'm hoping we can go there, enjoy it, and give him much more of a rough time than we did today.
Richard, we said just before the race that the start was going to be crucial. It looks like you got a pretty decent one, and that's what's helped you get to third.
Yeah, just textbook start really. Little bit of luck, I suppose. There was a bit of oil down on the previous race, so there was a bit of dust on the outside. I was on the inside. I knew that would help me. I was into third, into the first lap, and then really sort of held Tom. Bearing in mind he's the 2021 champion, you know you've got pressure, and I knew it'd be relentless the whole race, but I just kept working out where my strengths were, where my weaknesses were. I spent more time looking behind me than looking in front of me, but as most drivers of my age have cut their teeth at Silverstone, we know the track fairly well, so it wasn't too serious looking in the mirror. And I think in the grandstand I had my wife and Tom's wife sat next to each other, so hopefully they're still talking. But no, it was a great race, really happy with third, because you know Tom's a great driver and really quick and young and fit and relentless. So yeah, I was pleased to stay third.
That's strong championship points as well, so that's going to give you some good confidence for the next round.
Absolutely, and we made the changes, and the changes were better. Not 100% better, but we went the right direction this time, so that's a positive thing. Got these young lads now to try and catch up to, which might be a bit of a tough ask, but yeah, we're going to do our best at good, clean race.
We're getting towards the end of the weekend here at Silverstone. Plenty of preparation, though, going on ahead of our final historic race for the weekend. Plenty more stories to be obtained from the paddock too. Let's go and join Scott once again.
So another personality there's all about sports car racing is Robert Parker. Robert, great to have you here this weekend. How are you enjoying your Sports 2000 experience so far this weekend?
It's a trip down memory lane.
In terms of, it's excellent. So you've obviously had a lot of experience racing sports prototypes in many cases. A lot of the older cars here as well as the Duratec. So how pleasing it to see so many Pintos out here this weekend?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? There seems to be no shortage of Pinto engines, does there? So it's not like running a BMW M12 where every single part seems to be like gold dust. So yeah, it's great to see them all out. Yeah, I've also got. I found two the other day turning out a barn. I've got two original Lola 490 mag alloy wheels. So if anybody needs those, they know where to come.
She'll be on the phone to you straight away. Great stuff. Robert, fantastic to see you here. Of course, great to have you seeing and observing Sports 2000, and hopefully the rest of the day goes well for you. So great to have Dean Cassar with us from Loxford Vans, to sponsor the Sports 2000 Championship with us. Dean, great to have you here this weekend. How are you enjoying the day so far?
Brilliant day, lovely weather, great racing. Lovely to be here.
Just tell us, of course, Loxford Vans involved as title sponsor. How did that first come about?
We're associated with one of the drivers, friends of the company, and he enticed us into the car racing, and we never looked back since. So we've 3 years now been part of this. We've been more and more year on year. With innovation at the heart of what this racing does, it ties in well with what we do. So to support this is brilliant for us, and we get great days out like this.
For those who want a little bit more information, tell us about what Loxford Vans does and how it's come about and what you guys specialise in at the moment.
Quite simply, we secure vans, so all the tools that these guys keep in the back of their vehicles and so on. We make the locks that keeps the tools safe in the back of the vehicles. We do that for the racing teams, we do it for delivery drivers, and we do it for tradesmen as well. So if you've got a van and you've got valuables and goods inside it, generally we're here to secure them.
Great stuff. You've also got two cars here as well, of course, adorned in the colours of black, bronze and white, and that must be satisfying seeing two race cars all decked out in those colours.
It's brilliant, seeing them glistening in the sun is brilliant. You can spot them all the way around the track as they're coming around, and they're great for cheering them on because you can see them coming down. And yeah, brilliant colours, stand out, great in the sun.
And it seems to be having quite a bit of success this weekend as well so far.
So far so good, yeah, we won't say too much, but yeah, we're liking the success we're having so far. Keep it up, gents, keep up the good work.
So Nick Hyatt, 5th place on the grid for race 2. Looks like you had a pretty decent race 1. Just quickly talk us through it.
Yeah, it was solid. I was very concerned at the start, just making sure I got off there in one piece, and it went well. And then just lost a bit of traction going into the Brooklands complex, and seemed to be where I was a bit of a sitting duck. But going through the fast sections, up the hills, down the straights is where I was pretty quick. So everything went well until there's a back marker, and that just kind of set me back by a second, and kind of conceded that, and ended up just kind of parading around towards the end there in 5th.
We're talking to your dad Ross earlier on, of course, and you're saying that you were teaching him some stuff and he's been teaching you some stuff, so it must be great having your dad and also your brother out there having 3 Hyatts on the grid. That must be awesome for you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I mean, my old man's been doing it for longer than I've been alive. My little brother's just naturally gifted at this stuff, so I'm happy to be where I am today, and I'll take it, because I'm not sure how long it'll last, but I'll give it my best shot to stay at the front.
You got a tiny bit of work with the 4 guys in front of you. Do you reckon you can get amongst it in the first couple of laps?
I'm most certainly going to be trying to send it down there with them, absolutely. I don't want to see the back of them for too long, but look, good clean racing here, so we'll just give it a go and see what we can do.
Typical racing driver, what's the one strategy? Send it.
That's it, mate, absolutely. Just send it, figure it out in the corner, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the day.
So Mike, start a bit further back towards the top 10. How are you rating your chances for race 2?
Well, I gave it everything I could in the first race. There's just such a competitive field here, so I'm hoping to pick up a little bit of time, but I'm not sure where it's going to come from.
How's the car been feeling this weekend?
Very good. I've never taken cops flat, ever, and this car will take it, so I can't blame the car. I'm afraid it's the nut that holds the wheel.
I love the measure of performance taking it flat. Is that how you judge with every corner? If you take it a certain corner flat, it's working well?
Yeah, it's as much a problem of the head as the foot, really. I've been so used to braking, but this is just sitting there. It's fab.
How much do you reckon you can move up in the opening laps here?
At the risk of condemning myself, I usually start quite well, but there's some quick guys around me here, so if I can make up anything, I'll be very happy.
The Locks for Vans Sports 2000 Historic Championship runners on circuit for the 2nd time today. Simon Aldworth lines up in 11th on the grid alongside Chris Snowden. John Harmer's car taken over by Mark Narrow. For this one, he's on pole from Peter Needham, Tim Jacobson. This man, Trevor Welsh, in 4th, then Nick Hyatt and Charlie Besley, followed by Ross Hyatt and Rob Hall in the number 35 car, who had pole position at the start of the meeting, looking to make a little bit more progress during the course of this 20-minute race. Lights out. We are Locks for Vans Sports 2000 Historic Championship racing here at Silverstone, and a great start from 46. Trevor Welsh from the 2nd row of the grid takes the lead as they go into Cobb's Corner for the first time. Outside line there for the 69 car of Ross Hyatt. Simon Aldworth will look across at Chris Snowden immediately to his right, but it's the 46 car leading. It's the bronze machine of Mark Narrow in 2nd position at the moment. I did love the advice from John Harmer saying, well, you just don't let anybody past. Easier said than done, but said deadpan mode, absolutely superb. Simon Aldworth down the straight, and it is Trevor Welsh, the race leader, but look how quickly Rob Hall has come through. He's chasing, I think, in 2nd position. So Rob Hall already up into 2nd place. What a first lap he's had from 8th place on the grid. So the leader has come from row 2, and the 2nd place car has come from row 4. 3rd position again from row 2 is Tim Jacobson. There is Mike Fry on the inside, a legendary name in Sports 2000 racing. Simon Aldworth to his outside. So a cracking start and a new leader as this man got pole position. I think we might be brave to bet against him here into the race lead. Trevor Welsh has got the view of the race leader. We didn't see too much of the 35 car of Rob Hall in race number 1, looking to overhaul David Muse as the points leader in class. So it is the Shrike, the white Shrike at the head of the field, P16 from Trevor Welsh in 2nd, and then Tim Jacobson. Charlie Besley offline looking at Nick Hyatt, and then down behind them it's Ross Hyatt getting in the mix as well. Chris Snowden in the 32 looking a little bit higher up in this one, so Chris further down the order than he would like to have been. Last time out had a brace of podia at Donington, off the podia in race 1 here, but looking like he might be back on those steps at the end of this 20-minute race, which Rob Hall is leading. And that was an incredible... They say the race isn't won on the first lap or the first corner, but you try telling Rob Hall that. He's made up for whatever happened in race number 1, and it's given us some super entertainment here today. Charlie Besley side by side with Ross Hyatt coming up to play as well. There is Chris Snowdon. Chris running in the Tiger SC81. Mike Fry that we spoke to in the SC79, which I think might be the oldest car on the grid. Stand to be corrected on that as Charlie Besley looks on the inside of his Tiger SC82. Normally the numbers that we associate with the cars, for those of you who haven't seen this sort of racing before, indicate the year of build or year first race. Very often you get, I know some manufacturers will build a car towards the end of the year and maybe give it the following year's number or vice versa. It depends on the manufacturer and what the specification and clarification is and what the car is needed for. Great battle on for second position at the moment, and Tim Jacobson running well, putting pressure on Trevor Welsh here, the two red machines. Jacobson in the Shrike, putting the Lola T492 under pressure as well. Many of these cars as well would have had counterpart chassis in Formula Ford 1600 and Formula Ford 2000 back in the day, and you know, effectively these were Formula Ford 2000 chassis all encompassed. There's the move for second position. Trevor Welsh loses second place and Tim Jacobson goes up into second position. Remember, he was third in race number 1, so it looks like he's looking to emulate that. Peter Needham making progress as well, really came on song in the final stage of the last race. He's the blue car that you see coming into shot. There he is, crosses the line. Peter Needham again looking to get into a race rhythm. You can see the marbles, as they call them, the little bits of rubber that comes off the tyres adorning the outside of the track that can make things tricky if you get offline. Not too much of it around. Lots of tyre scuffs on the track here. This is wonderful to see Trevor Welsh still putting the pressure on. Peter Needham in the Van Diemen. I don't know what year the Van Diemen is, doesn't tell me on the information I've got, but you know, back in the day in Formula Ford you'd have Reynard Royale, Van Diemen, the likes of Jamin, and many of them. I don't recall a Jamin Sports 2000 car, but certainly Royale, Van Diemen and Reynard did. And then you had the companies like Tiger and Shrike and Aquila, which I think was the forerunner of the Shrike if I remember correctly, specialising in Sports 2000 racing. And it was a super way of getting into prototype sports racing, producing some terrific action that you'd see as a standalone formula, and indeed as a class that bolstered the Thunder Sports series back in the day as well. And those of us that saw that fondly remember those days. Some great racing, and we're still seeing it now. And I think I said it elsewhere on the programme that, you know, these cars are desirable to watch and desirable to own and race and nurture. There is Charlie Besley sticking some pressure on at the moment as he goes out of Beckett's, kicks up a little bit of dust on the exit of Beckett's as we watch this scrap now for third place. Closing in is Peter Needham. Peter knew he was going to be chasing perhaps a win here. At the moment Rob Hall is getting away very, very quickly indeed. So we're looking at second, third, fourth and fifth. Trevor Welsh, the man under pressure here. So the Lola T492 is being chased a bit further back. Some of the Class C runners all getting involved with each other. Mike Fry very much in the mix there in the 33, the white and green car. Mike's been racing for ages, absolute legend. Wonderful to see him still out racing, and an enjoyable thing for someone as long in the tooth in club racing as myself to see him. Chris Snowdon dicing with Charlie Besley. Chris Snowdon racing well. There in the 57 car is Simon Aldworth, running with our onboard, or one of the onboard cameras that's providing us with coverage here today. Down the straight we go again. And Peter Needham being closed up now by Nick Hyatt. So it looks as if Trevor Welsh has spurned the advances of the 54 car for the moment, but Needham, having said that, closing in as they come out of Woodcote and tick off another lap. And Needham is not that far away, is he? He wanted the win, as indeed of course they all, it's a silly thing to say, but not that far away from P2 at the moment. So some really good dicing going on as we approach the halfway stage of this second and final race of the weekend, the fourth round of the championship. A couple of non-starters in this one, 3 non-starters. Paul Tickner, who didn't take the start in race number 1, at least we've got to name check him, and David Muse plus Paul Street. Both of them class leaders coming into the meeting. So Tim Jacobson still there, 3 wide for third place, and moving up into third now. Very neatly done indeed by Peter Needham, up into third position. Very nice pass there on Trevor Welsh as they came down. Textbook stuff, really, you have to say, at Silverstone. Nick Hyatt is next in the queue. And then we look back to Ross Hyatt down behind him. Trevor Welsh is going to spend, I think, a lot of his time in this race looking in his mirror. Not overly defensive, you have to say, but he'll very much see that livery down behind him. There's Clive Steeper. Clive 16th in race number 1. With less starters in this one, I think could possibly be in for a better result in his Tiger SC80. And a visit to the pits in the first race of the weekend. And fairly lonely track time for him at the moment, as once again Trevor Welsh under pressure, I think about to lose out here to Nick Hyatt, who does make the move again. That's textbook stuff, isn't it? Down into Brooklands. And you'll note that these drivers give each other the broom and the respect. And is there going to be a repass here? He has a look on the inside. Wasn't quite room for Trevor Welsh to come back, but that would have certainly worried Nick Hyatt in his Lola. Great Lola battle going on. It's the Class A car, the newer car, as you would perhaps expect, up ahead of the Class C, the older class. Have we got any Class Bs running? Of course we have, yes. Rob Hall still out front and looking to get major points in this one. That is Andreas Vloth in his Lola, who is coming into pit lane, as is Simon Aldworth. We're at half distance in this one, and 2 retirees, Vloth and Aldworth, very sadly joining the 3 non-starters. So we've got 14 cars left. We've had a fair bit of track action for these cars to have to deal with, and now we've got Peter Needham up ahead of Tim Jacobson. So Needham second, Rob Hall is the race leader, fairly well clear of these two. See whether Tim Jacobson can get back on the case. He's now down to where he was in race number 1. Nick Bailey being closed in on now in his Royale. That's the lone Royale. There is another one that has raced in the championship this year, Aggie Eugenio's RP37, which had a couple of good finishes at Donington Park last time out. So Nick, he'll in the racing for the Creative Funding Solutions Duratec Championship, we've seen the LED lights as well as the flags being shown to drivers who are perhaps in the, I won't say slower classes, but the drivers that have been caught by the leaders to be passed. And Nick Bailey will get those signals, and he'll be well aware that Rob Hall is closing up. And in fact, Rob Hall now, as we catch up with him again, has done that. Nick Bailey running in 14th place, his 8th position in Class C, 1983 and earlier cars in the Lone Royale. Looking at car 16, Richard Cook chasing Mike Fry. That's for 11th position. Mike Fry in Class C, Richard Cook in Class A, the slightly newer cars. And those guys having a good race. Here's the second place man, Peter Needham, still there ahead of Tim Jacobson. I have to say again, just looking through the timing sheets that we've had for qualifying and race 1, and am I going to apologise for saying it? I'm going to talk about track limits, but the historics have had no penalties at all this weekend so far. I might be putting the curse of the commentator on. There's a little bit of fluid coming out of that second place car as well. Let's hope that, or a bit of steam, I hope that's not a problem for Peter Needham in second position. But the Historics, actually both the Duratec guys have had very few track limits problems, so they've all been very good. And you watch any other championships and they'll have loads of them. Charlie Besley still working hard there and chasing Chris Snowden in the 32 car, the Tiger SC81. Besley also in the Tiger 82. Besley goes to the outside. You've seen him do that a couple of times. In fact, I think they're both 82s, not 81, so apologies to Chris Snowden. There's the third place car challenging and has caught the second place machine now of Peter Needham. So Tim Jacobson having a go to try and get second position back here. Peter Needham got all his momentum towards the end of the race in race number 1. Super battle still going on between Besley and Chris Snowden. Look at this, side by side between these two, evenly matched and beautifully prepared cars. This is what people come to see, this racing. And it's Chris Snowden on the outside who could get the momentum. Look at the marbles on the outside run there. The pit crews are encouraging them as best they can. On the inside, it's Charlie Besley who goes through, grabs that position. Chris Snowden, though, another very, very well-respected long-term national racer, will be well capable of coming back. The battle for second, and indeed the class lead for Class A, I was going to say rages, but is now over because Tim Jacobson spins away, and I think is going to find himself down in about 4th, maybe 5th position in Class A now. So where we had the battle for the lead of Class A, that has now gone. Peter Needham, I think, now will be leading from Nick Hyatt in Class. Jacobson rejoining behind Charlie Besley and actually breaking up the battle between Charlie Besley and Chris Snowden in their Tiger SC82s. Tim's going to have a look at the inside. Pulls that move off fairly easily, so a swift recovery. Swift, a manufacturer not represented in this race, of course. And he would go through. Chris Snowden might try and follow him. Indeed, Chris Snowden is making hay while the sun shines, and it's going to go on the inside line here as well, using the opportunity to try and follow Tim Jacobson through on the inside as they go through Beckett's. They'll be side by side down the straight. A little bit of contact or weaving between the pair of them. Snowden gets seen away there. Charlie Hyatt coming up in the mix as well in the number 10 car. Another Class C machine, the yellow numbers on their background. And this is wonderful racing from the Historics. Tim Jacobson not getting away. Charlie Besley right behind him, putting the mileage in. Nick Bailey is being caught by them as well. Bailey will see these runners, and you can see he's keeping his car on the outside line here. Be interesting to see what sort of line he takes to go into turn 1. Not going to see that, but what we are going to see is Rob Hall still out front and leading this race after, I was going to say, a disappointing race 1, but it was a thrilling drive through the field to watch for Rob Hall to come through from effectively last position in race 1 up into 8th place at the finish, which is where he started in this one, as Trevor Walsh comes under pressure from Ross Hyatt. Trevor's been under pressure all the way through this race so far. Trevor Welsh, beg your pardon, I think I said Welsh from Ross Hyatt. This is for 4th place. Rob Hall the leader, Peter Needham 2nd, Nicholas Hyatt is in 3rd place, Peter Needham leading Class A. And wonderful stuff from Charlie Besley, who is not letting Tim Jacobson get away. It shows how evenly matched these cars are. Wonder whether Jacobson flat spotted his tyres during that gyration chasing Peter Needham. Rob Hall, though, in the 35, the Shrike P16, the only Shrike in the race. David Muse non-starting, he is away. The all-enveloped bodywork on that car, very distinctive back in the days, the 1980s, of course, when these cars were, you know, 70s and 80s, arguably their heyday. Crosses the line once again, well clear. It's around about 10 seconds. Here's the 2nd place car, leader of Class A, Peter Needham. So Rob Hall leads overall, and Class B. Class A led by Peter Needham from Nick Hyatt in the slightly paler blue car, which will come into shot. Here is Trevor Welsh and Ross Hyatt still working hard and about to go on to their last lap. Peter Needham still in P2. Rob Hall, the lone Class B runner. Class C headed by Trevor Welsh, so he's on for a Class win from Charlie Besley. Chris Snowden dicing for a Class C podium as well. But here's Rob Hall down into Brooklands for the last time. He's got the fastest lap of the race as well, 61.42. So the middle of the aged three classes is the fastest of the three classes, 61.42. And we'll go across the line now to take the win. Congratulations, Rob Hall, on the win. Peter Needham will take second position and win Class A in the number 54 Van Diemen. So it's a Shrike first, Van Diemen second, third place, and second place in Class A will go to the Lola 8890 of Nick Hyatt. This is Trevor Welsh, who is going to come across the line and takes the checkered flag. And fourth position ahead of Ross Hyatt, who is third in Class A. Chris Snowden gets the Class C podium behind Tim Jacobson, who recovers. Tim Jacobson in seventh place after his spin. Mike Fry crossing the line, sixth position in Class C. But that one, what a first lap we saw from Rob Hall, and a great continued drive going forward to take the win by 10.9 seconds from Peter Needham. Nick Hyatt in third place from Trevor Welsh, who wins Class C. Then Ross Hyatt and Charlie Besley from Tim Jacobson and Chris Snowden completing the Class C podium. Charlie Hyatt in ninth from Mark Narrow. Then Mike Fry, Richard Cook next up from Clive Steeper. The finishes completed by Nick Bailey. Fastest laps, Rob Hall Class B, Peter Needham Class A and Charlie Besley in Class C.
Rob, an excellent drive, bit of a battle through the first few positions, but once you got out to the front it was like a casual Sunday afternoon drive.
It's never a casual Sunday afternoon drive, is it? But no, it was a nice race. It was a shame about this morning with a misfire which caused the spin, but no, the race this afternoon was pretty good. I think we had a problem with the cars for the last 2 or 3 laps somewhere, but we'll get it back to the workshop and have a look. But no, it was a nice way to end the day.
When the car was firing and all of a sudden, does it look like it was pretty much on rails?
Yeah, no, the car felt good. The car's been nice all weekend. So it's the first time we've been out in the car really for like 18 months or so, so it's nice just to dust the cobwebs off and see where we need to go next with it.
So Jen, you've never been away?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It's a little bit race rusty, but no, we'll be out for that. I don't think we'll make Brands, but hopefully we'll make the one after that and go from there.
Well, Pete, another race, another second place, another trophies take home. That was a pretty solid weekend's work.
Yeah, it was pretty good really. Bad start, but we had a bad start in the race as well, but a bad start to the weekend with qualifying. But Trevor Walsh did a fantastic start and took all the front row completely, and he drove really well after that. Took a long time to get past him, and then we quietly went up the grid because we lost 3 places I think at the start, but we just got it all back eventually. Couldn't live with Robbie, gone off into the distance, and he's got a breakage on his car as well, so it didn't happen soon enough though.
You had a common theme, it's like some drivers like to be raced towards the front and stay at the front, but you've had it where you have to come back from a slightly slower start and go through, but you seem both times to have really enjoyed it.
It's good fun. It's really good racing, and although this is not probably one of our favourite tracks because it's not long enough and there's really just 2 straights, and we like a lot of corners, so Cadwell and the International here or the Grand Prix is a good track, but it's been good. Weather's been good. What else can you do?
Next challenge coming up, Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I like Grand Prix circuit. Very good, better than the Indy. It's it's a bit of a strange thing because you have to drive the Indy, which is slippy, and then you go out onto the Grand Prix track, which is actually really grippy. So as you come back onto the Indy from the Grand Prix, you have to change your mindset to realise that there's no grip. So one day they'll do the tarmac again, I think, but at the moment it's an interesting track.
Well, Nick, we said that you were going to send it before the start of the race, and you did that just well with the 3rd place.
Yeah, I did. The start was okay. As usual, there's some pretty wily fellas out there, so a couple came down the inside, but I pulled across, kept my line through cops, and just wanted to see what happened in front until I started sending it. I think it was lap 3, and then we started going for it, but the pace of the car was there, so the confidence was good. So it was,
The car underneath you looked pretty good from the first race and looked handled pretty well, and you're keeping the guys around you at bay too.
Yeah, it was. In the first race, the back it felt a bit light, particularly through the Brooklyn section, so we just softened it a little bit. We moved the tyres from one side of the car to the other because they'd been a bit worn, and just get to hunker down and just feel it a bit more and just go for it. So just put the car where I need it to be and let it do its thing. So yeah.
The most important thing, you beat Dad and you beat Charlie, so that'll it'll make the drive home awkward or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I won't mention it's the second time in the weekend that I've done that, but luckily we're all in separate cars, so it should be okay. But no, my dad was flying. I mean, his car's not set up perfectly, but I could see him catching me through all the technical bits, and I expect that. Luckily, I had a bit more grip, I think, through the fast sections. And Charlie, I mean, hats off to him. You know, I think it's his second race, or at least second race meeting, and he's up there in the top 10, so it's fantastic.
Well, we've had an absolutely splendid weekend courtesy of Locks for Vans here at Sports 2000. Some terrific Duratec Championship racing and the Locks for Vans Sports 2000 Historic Championship. A great turnout of previous drivers joining us as well. We hope you'll join us next time when the racing action moves to the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. From all of us here, thanks for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.